disgraceful.
It is.
Disgraceful. And so when you make that official apology, I'll talk about like how I felt and why I did certain jokes. And I have no apologies to you at all. And I'm glad I did it. And I would do it again if you let me back in the country.
Which I assume they won't.
I will not be allowed back in the country for jokes.
It looks like Justin Trudeau has made himself a new critic. This time, someone who isn't even Canadian. Rob Schneider didn't hold back, openly calling Trudeau disgraceful. No apologies, no sugarcoating, just straight talk. Rob's had enough and thinks Canadian politics has turned into a complete joke.
Has ideologically captured them to a place where it is deserving of ridicule and it is deserving of mocking and where it's dangerous.
Rob isn't holding back. He's calling Trudeau's leadership both laughable and dangerous. It's like Trudeau's running the script for a tragic comedy sketch. But wait, it gets even more absurd, depending on how you see it. Trudeau's answer to all this? Rolling out more outlandish policies that only add to his reputation as a national punchline. Let's hear what Rob has to say about that.
Administration doesn't do anything about it. It really sends a message out there that there are two Americas.
Rob has made his stance clear. Trudeau isn't leading the country, he's tearing it apart. And let's be real, it seems like Rob is the only one brave enough to say what everyone else is quietly thinking. But Rob isn't stopping there. Next, he's hitting on the question that's likely on every Canadian's mind. What exactly is Trudeau doing?
What the truth is, they will say they'll be behind the average worker when they have no power. But when they do have power, they don't do anything. And that's what's such a real turnoff for a lot of people, and people who thought there could be good could come out of that administration.
It seems the only thing Trudeau's government is shutting down is hope. Rob's just voicing what Canadians already feel. Trudeau's leadership is all words and no real action. And if that wasn't enough, Rob has a prime example to back it up. Remember when Trudeau openly praised China's authoritarian regime? Yeah, that didn't age well. Let's revisit that awkward moment.
The level of admiration I actually have for China.
Oh, he admires China. What a fantastic example for a democracy. Except no, it's not. Spoiler alert, it only gets worse from here, so keep listening.
Because their basic dictatorship is allowing them to actually turn their economy around on a dime and say, we need to go green as fast as we need to start investing in solar.
Ah, yes, because nothing says great leadership like admiring a dictatorship for its efficiency. Rob makes a good point. How can you lead a democracy when you're idolizing a regime that crushes basic freedoms? While many Canadians might hesitate to call him out, you know who won't? That's right, Rob Schneider.
You end up having some guy who loves China running your country.
Exactly.
Who admires China. So it's important to speak up and speak freely.
And there it is. Rob openly calling out Trudeau for praising a regime while claiming to stand for democracy. Canadians, are you paying attention? Just when you think Rob's done throwing shade, he drops a statement that makes every Canadian stop and rethink their voting choices.
I hope that the people who are trying to shame, the celebrities trying to shame people and scare people and say it's the end of democracy, you may never get to vote again. It was just so stupid.
Rob's mic drop moment, a comedian highlighting the ridiculousness of it all, while Trudeau seems busy scripting one of Canada's most embarrassing chapters. But if you think Rob's criticism is aimed at Canadians in general, think again. He simply believes voters need to make better choices. Beyond that, he has nothing but love for Canadians, calling them absolute sweethearts based on his experiences performing comedy shows across the country.
They're too polite. Canadians are too polite. They don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, which ends up hurting everybody's feelings.
Even though his Canadian comedy shows might give him nightmares, thanks to all the booing and backlash, Rob still holds no grudge against Canadians. But don't expect him to be as forgiving when it comes to the Canadian government. His criticism doesn't always make it to live TV, but don't worry. What he can't say in interviews, he says loud and clear on Twitter. One of his anti-Trudeau tweets read, canceling his trip over a fiasco involving honoring a Nazi. Yikes. It's clear Rob takes political issues seriously. Maybe it's time Justin Trudeau did the same. But let's be honest, that doesn't seem to be happening anytime soon. Until then, Rob isn't holding back on criticizing the Canadian government. He's not just throwing punches, He's throwing some serious maple syrup shade like never before. That's what having a sense of humor looks like, something Trudeau clearly can't relate to. No surprise Rob Schneider ended up being banned. But if you think comedy is just about laughs, think again. Rob is using his punchlines as a wake-up call for Canada, starting by calling out the ridiculousness of what's become controversial under Trudeau's leadership.
It's really weird. Well, you know something's wrong when people say, like, if you put God and family and country first, that's somehow controversial.
Oh, the irony. God, family, and country. Somehow controversial only in Trudeau's Canada. It's as if common sense has become some sort of underground rebellion. But Rob's not just cracking jokes for laughs. His words reflect a nation wrestling with its values and the cost of standing up for them.
I would say people that don't return my calls as often. But to be honest with you, a lot of people that I'm friends with in Hollywood, they lean towards the right, but like they're just scared of it because it really is like a mob of ideologues that just that you feel they will attack you.
Imagine being ghosted, not for a bad joke, but for daring to question Trudeau. It's not just Hollywood where cancel culture thrives. It seems to have found a cozy home in Canada too. Speak out against the government and suddenly you're painted as the villain. Freedom of speech? Looks like that's gone out of fashion in Trudeau's Canada. But for Rob, the price of speaking up isn't just about losing friends, it's about something much bigger.
Worry more about like the freedoms of my kids.
Yeah.
I'm a grandfather now,
Right.
And so
We've reached a point where a comedian is more worried about the future of generations than the Prime Minister, who seems fixated on appearances. Rob isn't just pointing out the hypocrisy, he's warning Canadians that their freedoms are slowly slipping away. And if you think standing up for what's right ends with speeches, think again. Sometimes it comes with real consequences, though serious doesn't seem to be a word in Rob's vocabulary.
I got kicked out of a country recently for jokes. Canada, yeah. Yeah. They have a dictator up there. We have free speech here. They don't have it up there, really.
Imagine being kicked out of Canada for telling jokes. You heard that right. Trudeau's Canada has gone from being a free nation to a place where humor becomes a crime if it doesn't follow the script. But Rob isn't just sitting quietly after being silenced. He's making sure the whole world knows about it.
Glad I did it, and I would do it again if you let me back in the country.
Make no mistake, Rob isn't even slightly ashamed of the controversy he stirred up. In fact, he's owning it unapologetically. No regrets, no apologies, and absolutely no backing down. That's Rob Schneider for you, closing the debate in his trademark style.